Swagatam. A very warm welcome to the Silver Jubilee year of Sa-Dhan. This is the 18th Sa-Dhan National Conference on Inclusive Growth, and I take it as a huge privilege as I welcome each one of us present here, our dignitaries, our guests, our delegates, our members from press and media. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a very warm welcome to this 2 days conference, which has its theme as Microfinance Marching to Amritkal, with 25 years of inclusive impact legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and join me as I welcome our dignitaries on the dais. Please put your hands together as I invite on dais Chairman NABARD, Mr. K.V. Shahji. Namaskar, sir, and a very warm welcome to you. May I also invite on stage CMD SIDBI, Mr. S. Raman. Very warm welcome to you. And I also invite on stage MD, State Bank of India, Mr. Alok Kumar Chaudhary. I also invite on stage Managing Director and CEO, Pramerica Life Insurance, Mr. Pankaj Gupta. May I also invite on stage Chairperson, Sa-Dhan and CMD Sa-Dhan Credit Care Network. Very warm welcome to you, sir. And may I also request ED and CEO Sa-Dhan, Mr. G.G. Maman, to join us on stage. I also invite on stage Treasurer Sa-Dhan, Mr. Sadaf Saeed, onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the evolution of microfinance in India started with SHG Bank Linkage Program in 1992, added another model of lending through MFIs to joint liability groups in the late 90s. The microfinance sector has had a profound impact on various forms of capital, including human, natural, physical, social, and financial, contributing to the sustainable livelihood system. In this Silver Jubilee year, Sa-Dhan, as an association of MFIs and a vigilant observer and a self-regulatory organization since 2015, envisions a comprehensive reflections on the last 25 years of microfinance sector, its impact and its strategic direction towards the Atmanirbhar Bharat in its annual national conference on inclusive growth. The main objective of the conference is to understand the impact the microfinance has been able to bring to people and the way forward. This also reflects that the sector's dynamic and evolving nature, which has had a significant impact on India's economic and social landscape. With those words, ladies and gentlemen, I once again welcome everybody present in the hall, and with the permission of the members of the dais, I call this inaugural session to order. We would like to welcome all our guests who are present on the stage, and may I request ED and CEO Sa-Dhan, Mr. G.G. Maman, to kindly present a plant and welcome CMD SIDBI, Mr. S. Raman. May we welcome Chairman NABARD, Mr. K.V. Shahji. We also like to welcome Managing Director SBI, Mr. Alok Kumar Chaudhary. May we also welcome MD and CEO, Pramerica Life Insurance, Mr. Pankaj Gupta. Very warm welcome. We'll also like to present a plant and welcome Chairperson Sa-Dhan and CMD Sa-Dhan's Credit Care, Mr. H.P. Singh. May we also welcome the Treasurer Sa-Dhan, Mr. Sadaf Saeed. He is not here. He will join us in a few moments. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to begin this conference, and may we start with the introductory note and the welcome note. May I request Mr. G.G. Maman to kindly present the introductory and the welcome note.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Respected dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, delegates from within the country and outside the country, board members of Sa-Dhan, member institutions of Sa-Dhan, members from press, and dear friends. Good morning to all of you. A warm welcome to all of you on this 18th Sa-Dhan National Conference on Inclusive Growth with the theme Microfinance Sector Marching to Amritkal with 25 years of inclusive impact legacy. This year being the Silver Jubilee of Year of Sa-Dhan, my Silver Jubilee greetings to all of you. Further, I would also like to extend our greetings to all on this festive occasion and wish all of you a happy Diwali in advance. Ladies and gentlemen, we have gathered here for the Sa-Dhan National Conference at a time when microfinance sector is looking up with best performance in all the parameters after a huge pandemic which had impacted the sector badly. Through the sheer resilience power of the sector, it has been able to come back, and that too with a bang. As a result, there has been a lot of interest on the microfinance sector from various stakeholders, including investors and financiers. Friends, we are going through one of the most exciting times of microfinance industry. We have been seeing a lot of positive actions like mergers and acquisitions between the entities, making them strong and big. New players, including big corporate houses, looking at this industry closely and trying to get into the microfinance space. More and more technology being introduced and thereby making the industry more efficient and improving ease of doing business. Investors flocking with renewed interest, and microfinance players going to capital market and being very successful and so on. We have just seen how the IPO issue of ISAF Bank has been a successful one. It has been subscribed 77 times. A big hand to ISAF Bank. Of course, there are also other microfinance players in this line, lined up for the IPO, and which definitely shows the recognition of the sector to the people. We have seen the benefits of microfinance sector started to reaching more and more people. In the last financial year, we have seen an increase in the borrowers covered by the microfinance players by around 18%. There are stories of positive impacts of microfinance industry in the financial inclusion space. To get a more definite conclusion on this, we, along with SIDBI, has engaged Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research, IGIDR, to make a detailed study on the impact of microfinance on the people, and report is expected to be released soon. At this juncture, when Sa-Dhan is completing 25 years, which is also coinciding with the journey of microfinance in the country, it will be good to look at the past 25 years and plan for the future. I am sure this conference will help us to do that. I would like to welcome everyone to this conference and wish a very best to all in these 2 days. I am especially thankful to our dignitaries who have been able to be here, especially Chairman NABARD, Sri K.V. Shaji ji, Sri S. Raman, CMD SIDBI, who would be reaching in any time now. We have Alok Kumar Chaudhary ji, is Managing Director of State Bank of India. We have MD from Pramerica, and we have people from all over the country and across the country, and across the borders too. We have delegates from a big group of delegates from Bangladesh under the leadership of the CEO of CDF, which is a network of microfinance companies, microfinance industry in Bangladesh. We have persons from Nepal, we have persons from Myanmar, we have persons from Cambodia, and of course we have 3 delegates from US also. So I welcome each one of you for this. And of course the Secretary General of Africa is also with us. So I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this show. I also welcome our sponsors and thank them for their support for this conference. My special thanks to the 3 conference partners, NABARD, SIDBI, and Muthoot Microfinance. I also acknowledge the support being extended by NABARD in bringing out the Bharat Microfinance Report 2023, the unique and authentic sectoral report on microfinance which will be released today. I once again welcome everyone and wish the very best to all of you. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful introductory and a welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Chairman Sa-Dhan and CMD Sa-Dhan Credit Care Network, Mr. H.P. Singh, to kindly give an overview of the sector.
Do we have this thing here? Oh, shall I? Shubhada, you have a pointer? Is that? Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And I welcome the dignitaries on the dais, Mr. K.V. Shahji, the chairman of NABARD, Mr. Alok Kumar Chaudhary, the MD of State Bank of India, Mr. Pankaj Gupta, and Gigi Saab, and delegates from other countries, namely Bangladesh. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to take you through a very small presentation in terms of the evolution of how microfinance has been for us. If you look at the context of the outreach which we have, I think the numbers say it all. Today, I think, when we talk about microfinance, in terms of our AUM, it's about 3,50,000 crores, which is there. In terms of our geographical reach, I think, for us, if you look at it, South and East being the dominant markets now, and practically being contributed by even states like UP and Bihar from North. And if you look at the complete shift which has happened, if you look at the trajectory, how it has evolved, the initial journey when I practically started my journey in microfinance also, South used to be the Mecca. And even when we talked about Hyderabad used to be the Mecca for microfinance. But ultimately, I think today now, if we look at it, the roots are all across India. In fact, for us, making strides into Northeast, making strides into East, making strides into UP and Bihar, the states like, which probably had less of microfinance when we used to actually think about it. I think, we've come a long way. And in spite of the fact, I think, we have practically an all-India presence, we still are very strong in our regional endeavors as such. So if we talk about, there are institutions which are very strong in South, there will be institutions which will be very strong in states like UP. We talk about ourselves as a parent company, we are very strong in UP and Bihar. So I think, for us, geographies probably have no limitations now, even though our strongholds still remain regional as such, And when I started, again, microfinance used to be talked about poverty alleviation. I think, that was probably the basic mantra from where we started. I think, now the transition has happened from basic poverty alleviation to now sustainable businesses and increasing livelihoods for our borrowers. I think, that is probably the shift which has also brought in terms of our exposure to microfinance. in terms of how we are looking at our AUM, how we are looking at the marginalized section, just not looking at basic alleviating poverty, but I think, moving ahead in the circle towards more inclusion, which is there, Inclusive approach, I think, when we started this journey, I think it was just pure microfinance. It was just microcredit. Today we talk about ESGs, we talk about SDGs, we talk about health, education. I think the spectrum has broadened a lot. And I think that is probably one of the most positive signs which have happened in terms of how we've been able to look at microfinance and inclusion in a broader perspective. I think, for us, the journey which started from just pure microcredit, we talk about now wash loans, we talk about environmental changes which are happening, we talk about ESG, which has been probably the mantra across everywhere, and we talk about with more severity in towards how microfinance is looked at. So inclusion probably overall is now the concept which we talk about, microcredit being a part of it. The other factor which has probably been very dominant, has been a change from probably a cash sovereignty to now digital dominance, And this is probably, I would say, somewhere COVID did help us. If you look at the positives, how COVID did help us, I think, probably the journey for being more digital was also a part of our journey through COVID. And I remember, to be very honest, when we used to disburse earlier during our earlier days, it used to happen in cash, Today, I think practically all of us now look at disbursing through the bank accounts, and that's probably one of the key, things which have really happened, People talk about various forms of how even collections are coming through the cashless mode, It ranges from, about 8-10% to about 30-40%, in terms of our collection. And that's a major shift which has happened, And I remember, and it's a matter of, thing which I would like to probably place on record. When we used to disburse, it used to be said, you're probably disbursing in truckloads of cash, Today for us, it's just a 2-minute tat, from where we actually are able to disburse in the accounts of the customer, So I think, it actually has led to, far more optimization. If you look at it, I think, we are overall more environment friendly. And if you really look at it, financial services, in terms of 3 categories of how we probably, disseminate into. One is the acquisition of our customer, which is completely gone digital across with eKYCs and other forms coming in. If you look at in terms of our processes and our backends, I think, we probably are also a lot of digitized across, for our operations. And when we look at cashless, collections, even over there, we have all the tools which are ready, UPI tool, your websites, your QR codes, I think all are forms where I think, cashless collection is there, So that is where I think, things have really evolved and gone forward, I think, another thing, which I would like to really also do it, we have now looked at maybe more responsible lending, I think, when we started our journey across over there, I think, probably the Malayalam committee which came in terms of how the crisis happened, how in terms of regulatory environment has been. But I think all this has led to probably more increased transparency. I think, it has led to probably, for all of us having fair practices. We follow the fair practice code. We do responsible lending. We have, we have helpline numbers for our client protections. We have internal ombudsman for us to probably look at any client grievances or complaints. So the whole process has led to probably more responsible lending, in the microfinance sector, And I think that's a very, very positive sign, and it's a very fair sign for us to really look at, I think, again, the transition which we talk about, I think we started our journey from, NGOs-led institutions, shifted to, I think, now wherein we have MFIs, NBFC MFIs as a separate class with RBI. We have small finance bank, which also do a lot of lending in terms of microfinance. We have universal banks, which also have a foray into that. So I think the structures have evolved. The tides have happened in terms of this thing. But I think, the major thing which is now also being witnessed across in this sector is I think the underwriting capabilities are also taking a lot of precedence over just disbursement which used to happen. I think that's probably something which is now coming to the fore, where it's not just purely giving out money to the borrowers, but I think there is the capability of how do you mitigate your risk, how we look at portfolio quality, how do you have underwriting capabilities in terms of this. I think credit bureaus have helped us a lot in terms of giving us all these tools which are there. We have all these facilities of scorecards. We have all these things, where we are able to actually look at credit bureaus and look at our borrowers in terms of their delinquency, in terms of their delays, to probably take a very informed call in terms of how we disburse it to them. One more factor which I would like to really emphasize upon is, I think, for us, when we look at microfinance, I think, the die is very clear now for us that our focus is rural to a very large extent, and when we talk about microfinance, I think any enhancement and going forward is, I think that's an increase in our rural GDPs. That's a very, very promising sign for us to look at, and I think, that is where I think the regulators, the whole thought process for microfinance is that I think it really helps in terms of looking at rural GDP and an enhancing of rural GDP for us to move forward. The best role, I think, which has happened is that we've appointed monitors now in our classes. So when we talk about SROs, I think, we have in terms of MFIN, we have in terms of Sa-Dhan, where I think, we get a lot of support in terms of policy advocacy. We get a lot of support in terms of crisis management. We get a lot of support in terms of how we are able to look at various other surveys and, programs which are being initiated. I think, lastly we had at Sa-Dhan was, the DEA program. I think it was very successful. We have HR surveys which are going on, which are there. The industry standards are always probably looked at, disseminated, and talked upon and worked upon. Basically, I think the best thing again which has happened, the way microfinance has evolved, is by appointing SROs like Sa-Dhan, and I congratulate again Sa-Dhan celebrating its 25th year in terms of our existence and in terms of their existence, and I think that's a very positive sign for us to move forward across in this journey for us. Finally, I think when we talk about going to the Amritkal, my sense is I think the outreach programs which we have in terms of microfinance, I think that is something which probably should be emphasized and looked upon in terms of how we are able to reach more and more borrowers. Technology which has become probably a game changer for all of us. And I think when we talk about technology, I think it comes to the fore in terms of ways, as I said, acquisition of a customer today is all digitized. The backends are digitized, the cashless collections which happen across over there. I think that's probably been a very, very big factor in terms of how we really look at microfinance and its theories, moving forward ahead. And finally, I think ESG to its core. I think when we talk about ESG, ESG is now probably more prevalent in terms of entities which are talking about it, which are implemented it forward. I think it's very necessary that for us ESG becomes our core in terms of environmental, social, as well as governance, and I think it encompasses probably the best practices which would probably come in microfinance. And as I mentioned earlier, I think it's no more about just disbursing loans. I think it's more about how do you have underwriting capability and collections. And I would then finally end with this, that this is now probably the new era for microfinance, and it's a new sunrise sector in terms of when we look at lending, when we look at financial services across over there. And this is where we feel, I think, microfinance has come of age, and we look forward to our entire journey moving ahead. And thank you, all of you, for being here, and all the best for the conference. Thank you.
And then call for the
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful presentation. We thank you once again for that overview of the sector. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored that we've been joined by the CMD SIDBI, Mr. S. Raman. We welcome you, sir. We also welcome our CEO of Muthoot Microfinance, who is also the treasurer, Sa-Dhan, Mr. Sadaf Saeed. We welcome them with a plant. This becomes much more momentous if we bring in more energy, if we bring, thank you so much. That's how we inaugurate a conference. Thank you once again. In our Indian tradition, we believe that we must seek blessing from the universe, the Almighty. May I now request the members on the dais to kindly walk towards the lamp, the ceremonial lamp, and light the ceremonial lamp and mark the beginning of this conference. We also pray to Goddess Saraswati, and the Saraswati Vandana will be played simultaneously. Thank you so much, dignitaries, for lighting the ceremonial lamp. Ladies and gentlemen, each wick being lit today is a prayer for global peace and solidarity. With that note, now may I invite MD and CEO, Pramerica Life Insurance, Mr. Pankaj Gupta, to kindly share his thoughts.
A very good morning to all of you. I am delighted to be representing Pramerica Life Insurance at Sa-Dhan National Conference today, and I want to thank in particular Mr. Gigi Mammon and the team at Sa-Dhan for including us as a part of this power-packed event. Over the last 9 years or so, as part of the life insurance industry in India, I have had the opportunity of having a ringside view of the microfinance segment. So I will share my thoughts from what I have seen from the outside, and I'm happy to see that it merges very closely with what I have heard from Mr. Singh so far. If you go back to Gandhian philosophy of Sarvodaya, it postulates that the good of the individual is contained in the welfare for all. When we juxtapose that philosophy with the seminal work of C.K. Prahlad on fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, I think then we get the underpinnings of the microfinance industry in the country. Doing well by doing good. Years of sustained efforts and strong growth have made the microfinance industry an integral part of the financial and economic landscape in India. As we heard, the MFI sector is servicing more than 6 crore borrowers with an outstanding loan of more than 3.5 lakh crores of rupees from very, very humble beginnings. This portfolio is growing at 20, 25, 30% year on year, and the share of microfinance loans within the total credit has been increasing rapidly and currently at over 1.3%. There has been a steady increase in the number of borrowers as well as the average ticket size, supported by the various regulatory and other interventions. In the process, the microfinance industry has helped create over 1.28 crore jobs directly and indirectly. That's a great achievement for a fairly nascent industry. These are truly remarkable achievements. The industry has delivered this performance while also demonstrating an incredible capacity for adaptation, resilience, and bouncing back. Given the impact of events like COVID and others, Mr. Singh spoke about cyclical impact that comes to this industry from time to time. In spite of those significant challenges, the industry has continued to grow This trial by fire, I would say, has made the entire industry much stronger. Every 2 to 3 years or 4 years, we have a big crisis coming our way, but the industry marches on. As we look into the future, I believe that the industry is poised to keep growing in a sustained manner. If India has to reach the $30 trillion GDP target by 2047, the microfinance sector has to play a crucial role by way of innovation in products, services, expanded outreach, diversification, and technology leverage. The industry has consistently shown that it is capable of rising to the occasion. Of the 7 priorities for Amritkal that PM Modi unveiled on the 75th anniversary of the country's independence, there are at least 3 that I believe where the microfinance sector will play a crucial role: inclusive development, reaching the last mile, and the development of the financial sector. Now, coming to the role of life insurance that I represent, we all know that insurance in general and life insurance in particular protects us from the inevitable vagaries of life. However, as a country, we still have a long way to go in deepening and expanding the penetration of life insurance. This situation is even more acute when we look at the less fortunate and the rural sections of our society. Given the demographic and economic challenges around us and the limited availability of a social security net, the need for extending life insurance in this segment has never been greater. The type of reach, operational efficiency, customer understanding, ability to serve, and the trust that the microfinance industry enjoys means that it is best placed to partner with the life insurance industry to expand the availability of life insurance in these vulnerable segments. The size and spread of the microfinance industry ensures that this expansion is achieved at a low cost. Mr. Singh spoke about the digitization. We have the economies of scale, we have diversification of risk, and we have the enablement of insurance underwriting of customers that otherwise is not easy for life insurance industry to do on its own. This is truly a win-win-win for the microfinance companies, the insurers, and of course, the customers. Products like credit life insurance have played a crucial role in supporting the MFIs by way of risk mitigation, enabling portfolio diversification, customer attraction and retention by service augmentation, and creating a positive social impact by helping the families of the deceased borrowers avoid financial distress. I believe there is a lot more opportunity and potential to keep expanding this partnership between the microfinance and life insurance industries by working on further product innovation, ease and simplicity of offerings, need-based solutions, reducing cost, leveraging data and insights, and technological integration. At Pramerica Life Insurance, we are committed to deepening our relationship in the segment, and we take pride in having been there in this space since 2016. Within a span of 7 years, we have partnered with nearly 100 MFI players and covered crores of lives. We have a healthy claims paid ratio of 99.87%, and we have paid over rupees 600 crores of claims over the years. We want to keep building on this partnership, and we truly believe that this is just the start. In conclusion, I want to state that the microfinance sector can truly take pride in its achievements in a shifting landscape and is poised to play a key role in the future as well. Pramerica Life Insurance would be your partner in this journey. I would like to close by wishing Sa-Dhan's team and the entire industry the very best and many more years of success. I'm also happy to see our neighboring countries participating in this event driven by the success of the industry in India. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful note. May I now request the Managing Director, State Bank of India, Mr. Alok Kumar Chaudhary, to kindly present the special note.
Good morning, wonderful audience, respected dignitaries in the dais, the practitioners of microfinance, and the delegates from Bangladesh and US. Thank you, Sa-Dhan, for inviting me, and it's quite pleasant and say humiliating, humbling both for me to be standing in front of the practitioners who are trying to create inclusion in the society, because inclusion is something which takes care of all the resources in the society, the human capital, the multitude of people which we have. And each person is the storehouse of creative capacity in terms of the wealth one creates or in terms of the assets one creates in the society for the common good. This is a special note, and from that perspective, I would just like to tell you or narrate how SBI and the banks in particular, because when Mr. Singh made a presentation, he said that microfinance institutions have turned into small finance banks and some banks. So we are already banks, and the State Bank of India for the last 217 years. We have been there to uplift the economic status of the people of the country and being of help in whatever economic pursuits people want to pursue. And now we are already towards a 5 trillion economy in just a matter of few years. And I'm sure all of us together will make this country reach a developed state by 2047. Now, coming to inclusion, financial inclusion, I think a lot of things have started parallelly in terms of the government understanding the 5-year plans, the planning commission and say the lead bank schemes, the poverty alleviation schemes, the bank's expansion to rural and semi-urban space, and all these led to aspirational explosion in the country. People wanted to grow more, people wanted to exploit whatever opportunities are available in the country in order to increase the GDP of the country and in order to also enrich their own lives and lives of the community. So, some of the things which recently happened also created a bedrock on which the entire financial growth of the country or financial, say, growth of the people happened. And if you see that, then I think the PMJDY was one of the primary bedrock which created a sense of ownership in terms of taking finance in the hands of the people themselves. Then the payment infrastructure, the JAM Trinity, and all these had led to a situation where people thought that yes, growing is a fundamental right. And in this, the role of the State Bank of India is quite deep from the perspective that we have almost 36% of the total PMJDO accounts in the country. Almost, say, 43% of the SBOI and around 32% of APY, the Atal Pension Yojana, and similar stakes in the different facets of financial inclusion, whether it is payment systems, whether it is savings, whether it is your insurance. And I think that all these activities have surely led to a very solid bedrock on which everybody is trying to improve upon. And as far as microfinance is concerned, we as a bank have a very significant credit lines to MFIs as well as NBFCs who are trying to penetrate in the people's lives through financing them. And here, while we will be discussing on a lot of themes which have already been laid out, I think there are 4 or 5 things which the entire group of people who will be deliberating, there are 4 points which I think I need to highlight upon. The first one is that being on the evolutionary ladder of as much as digital scaling up as well as digital evolution. Because ease is the only currency which functions, whether in banks, whether in MFIs, whether in our common lives. Whatever institution is able to offer ease to the consumers in terms of getting the needs satisfied wins. So this journey towards digital scaling up, increasing the scope, is going to continue at a very exponential pace, and we all need to work together and to find out what the customer wants. Because if you find a common customer who is not in the MFI space or not in the in financial inclusion space, there's a lot of work going on from all the institutions to find out always what the customer wants. And in this, we invest a lot of time and energy to find out what the customer wants instead of what we want the customers to give. So for this segment of population, we need to work on the understanding of customer's desire or what he or she wants, either from the bank or from the MFI. That is space, I think the work, there's a huge amount of work which needs to be done, because we generally are still in the mode of giving or thinking that they require this, and that is how we create products and also create different delivery platforms. But it's time we go back to them and to understand what they want and how they want to consume. The second thing which is very important is say integration with the evolving regulations. Particularly so when you have Privacy Act and the way the enormous amount of data which is being handled by all the microfinance institutions, I think there is a time to understand it very clinically, because while we in our forays with the business correspondent channel, the CSPs, we find that this particular aspect still needs a lot of thought on the part of all the practitioners, and say investment technology, investment in cyber security. This area needs to be dealt with, and some kind of action plan needs to be thought of. The third thing which I think is the financial education. We need to get out of financial literacy now, because financial literacy has become an old word. It's a question of financial education, and not only education of the people, but financial education of the people on the ground who deliver these services. So that is a kind of capacity building which MFIs will be required to do, because this particular area is fraught with some risk. And as MFIs and banks, we are a special creature of the society, because no other institution, no other economic institution is given this kind of leeway in operations what the banks and MFIs get, in terms of how much borrowing you can do, in terms of how you can operate your business model. So there is a huge amount of fiduciary responsibility on all of us, the banks, MFIs, and that is why treating regulation as a religion in terms of the compliance aspect is something which all of us need to understand it thoroughly. And the people who work for us in MFIs, they also need to understand the regulations in a much better way, because as you know, as you enter into economic activities, the numbers start taking precedence. The growth starts taking precedence. Different kinds of financial metrics start taking precedence. And somewhere, any of us or some of us may forget the importance of compliance and the importance of prudence. So I think these are the three areas where I would like that all the practitioners and all of us who are here try to understand, so that when we reach 2047 and during this Amritkal, we become a very robust, say, pillar in the entire financial architecture of the country, and we are able to take people along in a more safe, secure and easy manner, so that the country grows leaps and bounds. Thanks a lot for a patient hearing, and I am sure that a lot of new ideas will emerge and we'll work further on that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful note. Ladies and gentlemen, a very momentous moment of this inaugural session. It would be about the handing over the sanction letter for entrepreneurship program for Gujarat and Chennai. May I request CMD SIDBI, Mr. Raman, to kindly do the honors. And may I request the Associate Director Sa-Dhan, Mr. Chandan Thakur, to kindly join us onto the stage and receive the sanction letter for Gujarat from Mr. S. Raman. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to kindly put your hands together as we mark this momentous moment. We also request Mr. Raman to kindly present the sanction letter for entrepreneurship program of Chennai to the Deputy Vice President Sa-Dhan, Ms. Sunita. Handing over the sanction letter of entrepreneurship program to Chennai. We can bring in a bit of energy by putting our hands together. Thank you so much, sir, for doing the honors. May I now request CMD SIDBI, Mr. S. Raman, to kindly share his thoughts. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, I can just push it. Thanks, that's enough. A very good morning to all of you, respected dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries of the dais, and I'll be remiss if I do not call out Mr. Brij Mohan, who is here amongst us. He is, we shall always remember his, very seminal contribution to this sector. And it's great to see a large, vibrant audience. I hope that you deliberate upon several aspects. I will just leave a few thoughts which I sincerely believe we must not forget. So my first and biggest point is that there is a disruption happening around us continuously. We cannot take our eye off. We cannot just assume that the current set of customers that you have within the MFI industry are going to remain your customers. And I think this applies equally to a bank like SIDBI. It applies also to the commercial banks. There is so much disruption happening, and as Mr. Chaudhary just mentioned, it is around digital. Just think about it that Google could be the next bank that caters to the MFI industry of this country. It is a possibility. They've already gone into small loans. They own data. I mean, I'm just sort of calling out Google's name, nothing against Google, but whether it's Google or PhonePe or the payment aggregators today hold an absolutely amazing amount of data. They have gone into analytics of customer behavior like nobody has done before. Because whether that customer is paying or let me say repaying a loan or buying something on an e-commerce or conducting some very ordinary transaction to do with his personal life or his business requirement, the entire set of transactions are captured by these payment aggregators. We need to therefore ask ourselves that what do we need to do to collect that data and share it amongst ourselves so that we continue to have the power of lending to our customers. I am actually right now in the midst of trying to get SIDBI to move towards something called machine learning, because we have a large program which we run in the name of Prayas. Some of you are probably aware of it because we lean very heavily on the MFI industry. As participants, all of you are powerful on the ground. You may not have the power in your balance sheet today, but you actually have the power of knowledge on the ground, and that is the power of knowledge which SIDBI we are harnessing, and thereby trying to give a loan to such customers who typically are falling outside your range as a customer. So we are giving typically about 1.2 lakh rupees, that's the average ticket size. And we've done this, I think, for about 1.4 lakh customers in the last 15 months. It is just to tell you that there is continuously a need for credit, which you're all aware of. But the fact is, why is it that we are leaning on you? Because you have that knowledge of what is happening on the ground. Now, it is this knowledge which I request Sa-Dhan, I request MFin to come together and create an adequate database which captures this information which all of you are holding respectively with relation to your customers. This has got to become, I will say, an industry-wide database where all of you are partners to that and all of you have the ability to access that. The more you have information about your customers, the more you will be able to lend to them. And let me add a third dimension to that. You will be able to lend to them at lower rates. My biggest fear is that the payment aggregators will tomorrow pull the rug from below your feet by offering a rate of interest which you today think is completely non-viable. You have your costs, we are fully aware of that, but it is about your ability to beat down your costs with the help of data and thereby continue to offer to your customers what they consider a reasonable rate, what the market will also look at as a competitive rate. So it is always to the credit of the MFI industry that what you have done is remove those usurious rates which typically the local money lender used to charge. And therefore, the industry has thrived on the fact that you have probably made those usurious rates into half or one-third or whatever that number might be. But yet, you need to look into the future and not just rest on the past laurels. You need to look into the future and understand that for an MSME, and I would request all of you to look at the program that government ran in the COVID times under the name PM Swanidhi. It is still a program that is a running program. I'm not saying it is in competition with what you're doing, no. I'm saying there are brilliant lessons to be learned in PM Swanidhi, which of course came with all the government benefits of low interest rate, etc. But I'm just saying it for the first time targeted 10,000 rupee loan to such persons who may not even have taken a loan from an MFI. They may have probably been in an SHG, but that is also very doubtful because they were largely urban borrowers. But what it shows, and the data with the banks will bear me out, there were large NPAs in the first round of PM Swanidhi, the 10,000 rupee round. 33 lakh people got it. But the subsequent rounds have shown that about 80% of those who repaid properly in the first round came to the next round of 25,000. The rates of repayment became even better. It went up to nearly 90%. And therefore, many of them are now on their third round, which is 50,000 rupees. So I'm just trying to tell you that this is typically the way microfinance industry works. These are the ticket sizes. PM Swanidhi cannot run forever. Therefore, interest rates of whatever they were, 7 to 10%, whatever that was, it will not sustain. What you are offering is a sustainable interest rate, but make sure that it is viable. A business has to grow. A business cannot keep growing if their interest rates are what they are today. They will necessarily look for other avenues. So I'm trying to push you towards looking at what is a better future. Whether you need to remain MFIs at all 10 years from today is a question you have to ask yourself. the value that you are giving today, truly great. I mean, I was stunned when I heard the 6 crore figure being talked about. If 6 crore, and I would say, you know, most of them would be MSMEs. In our country, anybody who does agriculture is also a small business person. So we are talking about a very large number of MSMEs being given formal credit. But you know that 6 crore will rapidly move towards other lenders if they find that it's more viable for their business. They find that the digitization efforts of a bank are far superior than of the MFI industry. And it is, again, as well said by my earlier speaker, it's a matter of ease of doing business. So let us deliberate upon these points. I honestly believe, as I have done at SIDBI, you need to look at whatever crystal ball that you can catch hold of, but you need to ask yourself some very, very harsh questions, and you need to plan towards a better future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for those encouraging words from you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving towards the celebratory moment, and may I invite the Chairman NABARD, Shri K.V. Shahji, to kindly release the Bharat Microfinance report. And may I also request all the dignitaries present on the dais to kindly join Chairman NABARD in launching the Bharat Microfinance report. Ladies and gentlemen, what a momentous moment for all of us. Could you please put your hands together and celebrate with us this launching of Bharat Microfinance report, which is being launched by our dignitaries on the dais. We capture this moment in our cameras. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We have launched the Bharat Microfinance report. May I now request Chairman NABARD, Mr. K.V. Shahji, to kindly present the keynote address.
Good morning. Dignitaries on and off the dais and the practitioners from the industry. I understand people from Asia Pacific and also from the US are here. So welcome to all of you. Great, it should be a great learning experience for those who are out from outside, from the experiences of India. India is in fact an amalgam of various experiences. In fact, the vastness and the size of the a population gives us sufficient practices for other countries to experience. In fact, today, as we celebrate 25 years of Sa-Dhan, we can just look back and what we have done so far, and so that the learnings of the past, how it can be taken forward in a better manner for the next 25 years. We are at the first year of Amritkal. Rightly, whatever we have done, to that we have reached a certain stage where we are now at the cusp of an explosive growth which is more equitable. There are inequalities within the society because India is growing fast. One sector of the society is not growing as fast as we desire. So it is in our interest that we need to make this growth very equitable. And for that, the baby step which we have taken in 1992, which created demand for microfinance. Actually, the SHG bank linkage movement was to aggregate people and then create demand for credit, first for consumption and then for enterprises. So the 1992 SHG bank linkage program, then we had the JLG program, and afterwards the microfinance took off. Here, right now, the figures speak that 6 crore microfinance loans, size is around 5.4 lakh crores, whereas the SHG bank linkage program, the size is at 1.88 lakh, with roughly around 43 lakh SHGs. If we multiply by 10, roughly around 4 crores or 4.5 crores will be the people benefited from SHG bank linkage. So put together close to 10 crore is there. But then there will be certain overlaps because many of the SHG members will be microfinance borrowers. So we need to weed out the duplicacy. In fact, that is one challenge which we face, the data accuracy is one challenge which we face. So the uniqueness of the borrowers in terms of linkage through groups and also as individual borrowers, that need to be found out, and then we have to now craft adequate policies for that. Now, some data was given that microfinance, how the regional distribution of microfinance is there. I have seen that the north, central and east put together is equal, north, central and west is put together equal to the east and almost equal to the south. So 1/3 roughly is in the east in terms of microfinance and 1/3 in south and the other 1/3 in north, central and west. So that itself raises some question whether the regional disparity, whether we are addressing it properly. If you extrapolate this data with the GDP contribution or the national income contribution, then we can find certain inequalities here. The south, which is banking, good in banking and there is good credit penetration, has got credit to GDP ratio very high, whereas the north and west, which contributes much to the national income, is not having adequate credit. The credit to GDP ratio, especially in the priority sectors, is less. So we need to correct this regional disparity once. That is one challenge which I want to put forth to the practitioners over here. So whether we can penetrate these markets, the banking sector also follows this pattern. The south, especially in the priority sector, the south credit to GDP ratio is very high. It is as high as 200%, that twice the income which they generate is now given as credit. So that is quite not sustainable. And in the SHG bank linkage program, we are finding that the incremental growth in south is now coming down. That is a good sign. Whereas the growth in the northeast and the eastern region is going up. So that shows that there are some concerted efforts, and maybe even the beneficiaries of SHG bank linkage program are graduating to higher micro enterprises. So they are less depending on SHGs for their credit needs. The other transition which happened is that SHGs to JLGs. Actually, we wanted that the JLGs should, joint liability group should come out as activity group and set up micro enterprises, because SHG bank linkage is primarily for consumption, which is the primary need. And once that is met, then micro enterprises should come out. For that, some say 5 or 6 of SHG members can come together and form a JLG and form the micro enterprises. But here, one distorting fact which which I am seeing, rather we NABARD observe, is that some segment of banking is taking forward. There is a high concentration of private sector banks in JLG banking space. Whether it is a natural progression which they have happened, that is what we have to analyze. Whether the personal loans are getting disguised as JLG loans, I am not sure about that. We need to go deeper into data. If that's the case, then the JLG movement, which was a natural progression from the SHG movement, is not happening. Actually, JLGs should come out with micro enterprises and then graduate to larger enterprises. That is what the progression is meant for. Not that the consumption needs again should be met at the JLG level with the personal guarantees substituting for income generating activities. So that is not the intention of JLG banking linkage. Now, one important thing which we find in microfinance is that almost say 85% is women, the beneficiaries. That is a good thing. In SHG bank linkage also upwards of 90% or even close to 98% is women. Here one important thing is that the female participation of labor force. Right now, concurrently, when the microfinance industry is growing, concurrently the female participation of in the workforce is improving. Right now it is at around 31 to 32%, where we were at around 16% some 10 years back. So that shows that whatever credit we have pushing to these sectors are showing results. But then there are a lot of things yet to be done. We need to bridge that gap between the male participation and the female participation. So it has to be improved. And once the female participation in labor workforce is improved, then the GDP, the Amritkal targets of GDP will be easier to achieve. So that there is a larger role for microfinance to play. I understand many of you may not be looking at from the social angle of whatever business you are doing, but right, this is the time when you need to marry social objectives with your business objectives. Unless you do that, long-term sustainability itself will be under question. So once you are looking at the social objective, you should also look at the government priorities and the government schemes which are getting implemented through banking system. SIDBI chairman was telling about the Swandhidhi scheme, and lot of such schemes are there. You should take a leaf out of that, and then how you can supplement the efforts of the government in a better way. Here, the high touch points that you have access at the field level better than banking sector, at least in those areas which are not saturated by banking. So those positiveness should be used for improving the access to the government schemes, or rather actually changing your schemes to suit the social objectives of the government, and it will be highly profitable for you if you do that. Unless that marriage happens, that no social objective with the business objective, then the sustainability and also the stability of the sector itself will be under question. We have seen in certain states like Andhra earlier, when the pure profit motive has destroyed the objectives of the microfinance. We should not repeat that experiment again. Now, in that count, two things, the regional disparity and female participation, these two things should be of your top priority, and then work your policies around that. So here there was a mention about moving from cash sovereignty to digital dominance. It is good. Digital is always good. We all say that no, we need to be more digital. But in microfinance sector, we have to combine one more thing, that the human face of giving credit should not be lost. By digital, we are becoming more impersonal, and digital will help you when there is a history to the target customer. Whereas you are primarily looking at new to credit type of borrowers. That is what the first step you should do. For that, there may not be any history available. So digital per se may not be. Of course, the payment behavior may be helping to some extent, and even those who are not having access to the payment systems also need to be addressed properly. So you have to now humanize your credit systems through digital means. Of course, digital should be a supplementing factor to that, not the end of all type of thing. So you have to now look at some convergence between technology with behavioral sciences. So of course, the payment banks, SIDBI chairman was mentioning about how payment banks are looking at the history of spending, and then try to do some intelligence work, artificial intelligence on that, and some machine learning also will be applied, and then come out with some. But then you also should take a leaf out of that, and how the behavioral sciences can be merged with the technology, and you can humanize your credit systems so that better access and quality access can be given in a sustainable manner. Today, there is a news item regarding the CAFRAL, that is the RBI entity, raising concerns about the asset side of the banks, the intermingleness between banks and the NBFCs. The regulatory arbitrage which the larger NBFCs have, because of regulatory issues, banks are not lending to smaller NBFCs. So big NBFCs taking advantage of that, taking loans from the banks and then lending to smaller NBFCs, which may create instability. That is what the study says. So that practice is seen there. Double counting is also seen. Whatever the amount outstanding under microfinance industry we are giving, that may have the double counting of loans to microfinance entities by NBFCs also. So these factors need to be understood correctly. Of course, on the asset side, there will be the liability side of NBFC and the asset side of banks. There will be some challenges. So we need to look at that very seriously. A self-regulatory organization like Sa-Dhan and MFIN, they should look at it very seriously and come out with some guidances for their members. Now, I told about technology interventions. along with technology interventions, now the, technology interventions may improve the access and also the supply of credit. The demand for credit also need to be improved from the bottom of the pyramid. That is where NABARD also is playing its role. We have recently come out with some schemes for upgradation of for women and micro enterprises, that M Suvidha scheme, where we are looking at vocal for local emphasis of the government and how to supplement the efforts of the government with some training programs so that quality borrowers can be put forth to lending institutions. Being a development financial institution, our work primarily is to make people access credit, and also in that both demand and supply factors also we are working on that, increasing the access and also improving the demand for such loans. In that, we are tying up with a lot of non-governmental organizations and also governmental organizations, and in that fact, whatever whoever have been trained and that groups because we try to train in groups, and that they will be looked upon you as a better borrower, and the quality of those people also will be higher because they are adequately trained. Now, the poorest of the poor needs to be looked at, because now right now also close to 1/5 of the people are not having proper access to banking sector, and that is where NABARD like organizations are working. There we are now trying to build capacities. As I said earlier, one or two schemes are there. We will be looking more into such aspects. Then the gender inequality, which I have told earlier, we are now sensitizing regional rural banks, and in fact we are coming out with some gender index for among the regional rural bank clients, and sensitizing the boards of RRBs to have gender lens also be applied while they formulate policies for the bank. As we go towards the 5 trillion economy and beyond, I think we need to ensure inclusivity, which is the primary motive of all the microfinance institutions, as also of NABARD. So what we need to now do is that we need to improve the per capita income of the people in the rural areas. The other day there was just yesterday, a senior secretary called me and asked how we can take people out of agriculture. That is the nagging question which the government also is thinking, that 21% of the income is from agriculture, whereas 55% of the population is dependent on agriculture. So naturally, the per capita income is lower. So the one way to increase the income is to increase the production and productivity, which will be far-fetched. Already there are surpluses generated in agriculture sector. Now, how can we now move people out of agriculture? For that, one way is to have near farm gate enterprises to be set up to handle the surpluses which are now getting generated. So that means more of micro enterprises should come at the farm gate level. That is where the microfinance institutions can play a role. So we are looking at some value chain models for financing agriculture. So till now we were looking at production credit through KCC, which is an integral, which is a composite loan requirement. How we can improve upon KCC? KCC has run its course. That is, Kisan Credit Card has run its course. 25 years have gone. Ecosystems have developed. Lot of technology has come in. Whether we can go beyond production phase, post production also be handled by farmers or group of farmers at the near farm gate level through some innovative schemes. That is where I am looking at models of MFIs. We will be, as NABARD, we will be more looking into the practices, and then can we adopt best practices and mainstream those practices for the banking sector and the cooperative sector. So here, one important revolution which is now happening silently is the digitization of the cooperatives. Cooperatives, as we understand, are the original farmer-producer organizations, group of farmers coming together, forming a cooperative society. But then legacy issue of almost 100, 120 years have created a lot of baggages, a lot of issues, inefficiencies in the sector. We are trying to clean up through first improving the transparency and making them important value chain players. So in that process also, microfinance institutions can partner. So once these entities are digitized, close to 10,000 such societies have already been digitized. We are targeting at around 65,000 of the societies to be digitized by March 24. Once that happens, a wealth of data will be coming, and we are building a data warehouse for the cooperatives and also for the rural sector. And once Once that data warehouse is there, which will be a gender sensitive data warehouse also will be a part of that. Once we set up that, maybe in another 6 months we will be ready for that, and we will be opening up the data for all the players to use that for their benefit. Because as a development financial institution, we feel both the demand for credit and in the quality credit also, and then some sort of policy guidance also can be given to the sector players. And in that count, you can always depend on NABARD for your business objectives and as well as social objectives. And we are here to, jointly to improve the equality in the growth. And I look forward for the deliberations of the day for better policy inputs so that we can take the matter further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward to the concluding moment of the inaugural session, may I request the Treasurer Sa-Dhan, Mr. Sadaf Saeed, to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think being a World Cup season, I can't refrain from using an analogy that you send the best batters in the opening round. So we had a very, very invigorating session. The first round, the tremendous batters of the industry are here. And I request all of you to give a big round of applause for a very thought-provoking session. Thank you, Alok sir. Thank you, Shaji sir. Thank you, Ramanan sir, for tremendous kind of inputs that you have given to this session. And this is the 25th anniversary of Sa-Dhan. This is the Silver Jubilee year, and I cannot think of a better panel than this. Because these are the biggest name who have supported the industry. Many of the people who have started this business has been incubated by the support of NABARD, SIDBI, SBI Bank. So we definitely deserve a big round of applause and thanks to them. And many, many stalwarts sitting here in the audience. It gives me immense pleasure to see the whole hall full and a huge line outside. I don't want to start taking names here, but thank you all for turning up and also kind of gracing this occasion. This is just the beginning. The batsmen have laid the foundation, and we look forward to a tremendous session ahead. We would have loved the company of DG RBI, who was supposed to be here, but due to the other urgencies and due to the weather, he could not be here with us. But we have you say that in cricket analogy again, when the wicket is tough, you need to send out the toughest batsman. So we have the toughest batsman here, and I think with their support, the industry has done so well. I'm happy to tell you we have on the stage the entity which has been listed for the first time in microfinance industry. The chair of Sa-Dhan, Mr. H.P. Singh, represents Sa-Dhan. And we have, with the support of your guidance, sir, SIDBI, NABARD, and all the sector players, SBI, we have almost 9 banks coming out of this industry. We have several companies getting listed, and we have another member of ours, Mr. Paul Thomas. He's not here, I believe, but had a stellar listing. So I think the sector is doing well because of your guidance and support, and we wish this continues. And thank you for your thought-provoking inputs today and laying down a great foundation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank our guest on the dais for gracing this occasion with their valuable presence, and we would like to extend our gratitude by presenting memento to our guest. May I request the chairperson Sa-Dhan, Mr. H.P. Singh, to kindly present a memento to the chairman NABARD, Mr. K.V. Shahji. We are presenting a shawl and a plaque. May I request you all to kindly put your hands together as we thank our guest on the dais. May I also request Mr. H.P. Singh to kindly present a memento to CMD SIDBI, Mr. S. Raman. We are presenting a shawl and a plaque to CMD SIDBI. Just to bring in more energy, we would like to present a huge round of applause to our guests, thanking them for being here, thanking them for guiding us with their words. Ladies and gentlemen, we have presented a memento to Mr. S. Raman. And a plaque, a shawl and a plaque. Our heartfelt gratitude to our guests. Thank you so much, Mr. H.P. Singh, for doing the honors. May I now request Mr. Sadaf Saeed to kindly present a memento to Mr. Alok Kumar Chaudhary, Managing Director, SBI. Once again, requesting everybody to put their hands together and thank our guest, presenting a plaque. May I once again request Mr. Sadaf, Mr. Saeed, to kindly present a memento to Mr. Pankaj Gupta, Pramerica Life Insurance, and we present a shawl and a plaque to Mr. Pankaj Gupta. We can bring in a little more energy. It's right in the morning. Thank you so much. That makes it very special. Thank you so much, sir, for doing the honors. Ladies and gentlemen, I request all our members on the dais, our distinguished dignitaries, to kindly step forward for a group photograph. We would like to capture it in our cameras. As we capture this moment, we also conclude the inaugural session. We would now request you all to kindly join us for a networking tea. Kindly join us back in time for all our technical session, which we wish to begin right on time, and at about 11:10, 11:15. We would begin with our next technical session at 11:30. I request you all to kindly assemble in the hall by 11:25. We now break for our networking tea. Kindly join us in time. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at the cost of being repetitive, we are now breaking for the networking tea. We request you all to kindly join us back by 11:25 for us to begin with a session at 11:30. Our technical sessions would begin at 11:30. Thank you so much for your support.